So last video you saw that I actually went ahead and I bought the Titan Guardian game set, and I actually bought the Hunter one as well. But today I'm going to be doing a build with the Titan set because, well, I bought it and I have to do something with it, right? Before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button or I will literally break your freaking knees. Alright, now that I've reminded you that knees are a privilege, not a right, let's get into the video. Alright, let's get into this build. So I started off with the classic hard case helm. If you are a Titan, you already love this helmet. I think this is going to be on everybody's list to transmog whenever next season comes along, because it is just one of the most perfect helmets out there. If you know me and if you've been around me for a while now, you know I love the Gensem Knight helm, I love the 2020 Guardian Games helmet. I just like me some big visors, you know? And this helmet just tickles my fancy. And by the way, every single armor piece that I'm going to be showing you today is going to have Horizons Beyond applied to it. So for the arms, I decided to use the Contender's Gauntlets. I've been kind of on a weird little thing lately where I've been liking a lot more thinner Titans as opposed to the big bulky ones with the giant pauldrons and whatnot. So these arms were just perfect for me. And the best part about these is the fact that they just fit perfectly with the Sunbreaker chest piece. They just flow wonderfully into it. There's no like crazy things sticking out of it. The combination of these arms and the Sunbreaker chest plate just make everything look so unified. And the best part about the Sunbreaker chest piece is that it's like your old reliable, you know? Like if you don't know what chest piece to use on your next build, you just slap on freaking Sunbreaker chest piece and there you go, you have a fantastic build. Sunbreaker just works with everything, and a lot of that is because it has that classic shape of a giant plate here in the chest area, and then you start to like, you know, get a little bit smaller going towards the waist. It gives you that Dorito bod, you know? The only downside to using this chest piece is the gold on the shotgun shells across the little bullet belt here, but it's not really bothering me, and I doubt it bothers anyone. For the legs, I decided to use the Contender's Greaves. I really like these legs. I think I said it in the last video. There's the link right there. Everybody's going to be using these legs because they are so easy to work with. They're thin, they don't have too much armor plating on them, and actually, I did a Guardian Games theme for my weekend contest. I have little weekend contests every single weekend on my Discord server, link down below by the way, and a lot of the Titans ended up using these legs, and that's because they're easy to work with, they're thin, and they just take shaders so freaking well. The only thing that I don't like about them is that if you do try to use a shader with like a pattern applied to it, so for example, if you throw on the Midnight Smith shader that has like a carbon fiber weave, it ends up blowing it like out of proportion and it's like all stretched out. So just be careful with anything that has like a pattern to it. And this one actually caught me by surprise that it looked so well. I was already kind of thinking about it, but every single time I do a build around the Lux Mark, it just ends up looking off, you know? Like the Lux Mark is so big, or not really big, it's just in the way almost. But here it looks very much in place. Mostly because since we're using the Sunbreaker chest plate, we have those shotgun shells, and this little mark has some shells of its own right here, and the Lux Mark is just meant to be used with thinner armor like the whole entire Lux set, so it just worked out perfectly. And since we are using Horizons Beyond as the shader for this build, Horizons Beyond has that nice like blue to it. I don't even know how to describe this blue, but I really like the blue on it, and the whole entire mark just takes it and just works with it, and it's perfect. So if we're going to quickly go over some things that you can maybe swap out in case you don't have all of these armor pieces like I do, we're not even going to go over the helmet just because every single Titan should have this because it's a blue piece of armor. I mean, like, how do you not have this blue piece of armor? Arms that you could use are the typical like arms that are like round here in the shoulders. So you're looking at the Northlight gauntlets. They still provide that like round shoulder area that kind of just feeds into the Sunbreaker plate. They're also pretty thin and they don't really get in the way of anything. For the Sunbreaker plate, we do have several contenders that you can use. One of the biggest and easiest ones is of course the Moonfang chassis, just because it does have that same shape to it where it's like big and bulky in the chest area and it's very thin in the waist area. The thing that I do really like about the Moonfang chassis though is the fact that it has this like giant collar going around it, and it almost almost makes me like it more than the Sunbreaker plate. The only downside to this one is that it has those yellow stripes and that like white Hake logo there. So yeah, that does bother me just a little bit, and it bothers me enough to not want to use it. The second chest piece that I do like to replace it with is going to be the Virtuous chest piece ornament for the Titans, and here I can actually show you what that looks like in this color. It looks like this, and it does have a little bit of lights on it, which I usually like to balance out with other like pieces. So like if you have a glow on your head, maybe put it on your mark, but they're small enough to where you don't really need to follow that rule. One really good thing about using the Virtuous chest piece is the fact that it has this like pattern in the cloth part underneath your plating, and that pattern matches perfectly with the Contender legs here. And the last piece that I would consider switching out the Sunbreaker plate with, or the Virtuous, or the Moonfang plate, is actually the Celestial chest plate. I was originally going to use this. I'm a big fan of like the fur like collar going up on around here. I wouldn't necessarily use the Celestial plate with Horizons Beyond. Whenever I had it on for the original build, I had on Satu Tribe, so that way you can have a little bit more blue, and the Titan can look a little bit more icy, like maybe he was like racing on some sort of winter wonderland place or whatever. But yes, I would, if you're going to use the Celestial plate for this build here, I would consider using a different shader like Satu Tribe, or maybe another shader that has a nice blue to it. So replacements for the legs, I really didn't find much for it. Originally, I was going to use the Hardcase Stompers just because, again, they follow that same design philosophy that we're going for, which is thin, light, and then just like simple plating, nothing too complicated, and of course it matches our Hardcase helm perfectly. So, I mean, everybody has these, so if you're watching this in the future during the next season, whenever we do receive transmog, I would consider also transmogging the Hardcase Stompers just because they are a very classic look, very simple, and they'll work with a lot of things. And of course, if you don't like any of those options, you can always use the classic Dune Marchers. Dune Marchers, I mean, I don't even need to explain, they just work with everything. Now, replacements for the mark are going to be a little tougher. One thing I will recommend right off the bat is going to be trying on the Mark of Confrontation, which is one of the blue marks. It's small and out of the way enough to where you don't really need to worry about it, and it's pretty easy to shade. So, I mean, that's really it. It's out of the way. The only thing that I am a little bit concerned about is the white line here. Whenever you do try to apply any sort of shader to it, it doesn't really go away, so be aware of that. Another mark that I would consider using with this set is the Phenotype Plasticity mark, just because it does have a nice like crispy shape right here around the waist, and kind of the same thing as the Lux mark. For the Horizons Beyond shader, it just takes that blue so well. The last mark that I would consider using for this is the Future Facing mark. The Future Facing mark always kind of seemed a little sporty to me, you know? I mean, it has that giant Omolon lettering on there and on the actual mark. So yeah, the Future Facing mark is just another one of those marks that just works with this set, just because it fits the theme so well. Alright everybody, I hope you really enjoyed that video. If you did, consider leaving a like to make that seal of approval very happy. And if you guys want to catch the next video, don't forget to subscribe as well. Alright, I will be seeing you guys tomorrow for the next video, but in the meantime, don't forget to check out some more Destiny fashion videos if you can't wait until then. Here's this one going over the best fashion Season 13 has to offer. And as always, stay beautiful.